$25 million out there, and possibly another $10 million as of today, if they bonded.
Well, the bond wouldn't be paid back in 1 year. These are the amortized amounts, right?
Right. We actually owe $1.1 billion, correct?
Well, total.
Right, we owe $1.1 billion, and I don't know if we've added anything since October 22nd. It's possible that we could have added something, for example, $10 million from Kodiak, and if we did add that, given the timelines, we won't change the 2015 appropriation because the districts have to report to us by October 15th what they have outstanding. So it would start into 2016, and then we would pay it off a little bit over 20 years. So it's possible something could have been added to this list. It won't change the 2015 number.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Do we have any other questions, statements? How about those guys online? Okay, we got through it. The next one is item number 9. That was somebody coughing, I'm sorry. K through 3 literacy screening. And Les, we've got your name on that as well.
I think you can do this one.
And I'm not going to turn this one over.
All righty.
What number is this?
Number 9.
What I provided you, again, for the record, Les Morris, Deputy Commissioner, Department of Education, what I provided you, and I think is posted up online, and for anyone looking for it, I believe it says the agenda item number connected to it. I just provided you a 2-page document that is a briefing sheet or the facts about the early literacy screening assessment. This assessment was in the last year. This is an assessment that school districts give. They can give a number of different assessments. The districts typically will choose the same assessment that they use across grades, or they might use one in K. Well, generally, because this is K3, they're going to use the same assessment in all of those grades. The requirement is that all the students in kindergarten, first and second grade be given this assessment that the districts choose. And then in third grade, students who are identified as experiencing delays in attaining early literacy skills based on the performance in the prior year, the second grade year, have to take the assessment. The main purpose of the assessment is to provide instructional information back to the teachers, and these are very short screening type assessments where you literally can do something immediately about it because you learn about a performance area for a student. The districts do often use these multiple times a year. The state requirement is that it has to be able to be used 3 times a year because that is the best type of assessment to get, but they only have to report the results to us for one of the assessments given, the one given during the spring. We collect the data primarily for accountability, make sure that they have given the assessments. The other value of us collecting the data is that if for some reason the district the next year doesn't have the data, for whatever reason, we can turn it back to them if students move and they need this data. It should be in the cumulative file, like I mentioned earlier, but if it isn't, we have that data. It also allows us, when we're working with lower performing districts, to work with them in using the data so that we can talk to them about the performance the students are experiencing and what they're doing as interventions with that. This was in our FY14 budget was the first year we received money for this. It was about $320,000, which was is distributed to districts based on their enrollment in K1, 2, 3, and I think the 2-pager covers, and I guess I can answer questions and be able to get more information to you if need be. The director who works with this program isn't available, so I am here, but I think I understand it well enough to answer questions and certainly can get back to you with anything I don't know.
Thank you, Les. I guess I'll start out, and this is Representative Gaddis. So what I'm hearing you say is 320,000 stretched across all of Alaska for these literacy screenings, correct?
That is correct.
So, in my opinion, it doesn't go very far. And I guess here would be another opinion, and I am not an educator, but it is my opinion that those kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and third grade teachers certainly are experts at being able to evaluate where their kids are. So I'm not sure where this small amount of money, what it does at the end of the day. I can tell you in my district what it does is there are parents that are just pretty peeved knowing full well that their kids may not be literate in kindergarten, and the aspect of opting out of a test when, quite frankly, I think the teacher should already know whether that kid knows how to read or not. So, I mean, I think that for $320,000, I struggle with where we're going with that. So, do you have any? I know that a lot of folks think every penny counts and wherever you could put it, but do you have any data that shows that this is what it's doing, or is it too early?
Chair Gaddis, so we actually just have the first year set of data, and multiple assessments are used. So typically when you look at what a good literacy program is going to look like and what are some state policy directives making sure kids can read by third grade, because we all heard what a priority that ought to be. One of the first things that one needs to do is put in place a literacy screening assessment, because while teachers do often know their kids can't read, what they don't always have is what is it exactly that is getting in the way of them reading. And it's not that teachers can't figure it out. With this tool, teachers can figure that out. They can learn, is it certain components of reading? Which components of reading is it that's preventing them from being able to move forward in their reading, and then they can do specific interventions for that. You did raise a really good point, and one actually that we heard loud and clear at our most recent state board meeting, and that was that sometimes there may be a whole school that has a complete philosophical difference with screening assessments, particularly in kindergarten and first grade, because of a philosophical approach that school has taken. And the state board heard that pretty strongly and has asked the department to bring forward some regulations, which we intend to do at the January meeting, that allows a school, when they have a philosophical disagreement because of the instructional mode that they're using, to be able to opt out in those early grades, because that's where the board heard some real strong concerns about that. But I think those same schools, literacy is important to them. It just looks very different than this. So anyway, I will stop there. I think I answered your question.
You did, and you knew where I was going with it, so you answered it even further. Thank you. And certainly one of those schools is in my district, so I think it's important for those folks listening and for the person I have a meeting with tomorrow morning that I did bring it up. So I'm glad that the school board, the state school board, is looking at parents being able to choose for their kids to opt out. So I appreciate that. Representative Wilson.
So clarify for me, please. It was my understanding that $320,000 that the districts were already doing the K through 3. The reason the money was put out there was as a carrot to give the information to the department. Is that not correct? I mean, were there districts that weren't doing it until you started paying this money?
There were some districts that were not doing it, but this funding covers all screening assessments for all those grades and allows them to move the data to the department and for the department to receive the data and then turn it back to districts at the next year if needed, or utilize it when we're working with districts.
Right, but you're turning it back to the district, but the district already had it, so you're not really giving them anything back. So talking about local control a while ago, we can't make one contract for buses, but we can make one contract for literacy screening and not get in the way of local control. And I don't expect an answer. So on the screening, though, portion of this, okay, so you get the information, Now you're telling me that deed actually goes back to the districts to make sure they're doing the proper